Hello, everyone. Gosh, you're on time. That's wonderful. Great to see you. Great to see you. Just remind me, I think we've got a predominance of people from Edinburgh, but where are you all from today? Or in fact, with the wonders of Zoom, you might not even be in your own location. You could be in the Caribbean. And we wouldn't know. Anna, where are you today?
Unfortunately, not the Caribbean. Bankery in Aberdeenshire.
So I'm south of the border by 15 miles, in between Berwick-upon-Tweed and Alnwick. So about 5 miles from Bamborough Castle.
Barbara, where are you?
I'm in Eyemouth, just across the Scottish border from Berwick. Beautiful fishing port, and at the moment it's tipping down with rain, but I can still see the sea from my window as I sit here.
Oh, lovely. I love it. Wendy?
I'm in Edinburgh.
I'm in Edinburgh looking out at Salisbury Crags, so on the edge of Holyrood Park.
I'm not far away from David. I'm at the other side. I'm sitting here looking at Arthur's Seat. I'm in Spring Gardens where Elsie Ingles Hospital was.
Oh, that's interesting.
So all the taxi drivers know it when they say that.
That's good. And I also am in Edinburgh. And today we've gotten apologies from Gwen, who would normally be joining us from Glasgow, and unfortunately cannot come today, but is looking forward to our next session. So today we are concentrating on the work of two of the members of this Online Across Scotland group, and that's Barbara and Tim. As we know, normally we would bring our own favourite poems, and sometimes they bring theirs, and sometimes they bring the ones that they've created themselves, and sometimes they bring other people's work. But today we're concentrating on their work, which is absolutely wonderful. And thank you both for agreeing to do this. What I would like to know is, I haven't tossed a coin. Who would like to start?
Very happy to.
Sorry?
I'm very happy to.
You're very happy to, Tim. That's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Well, you very kindly sent me some of your poems by email. And the practice of this group is to screen share each individual poem, which I will do. And I would like to know which one you would like to start with.
I think if I can go with the one, A Gift from the Arabian Sea. Just a little bit of background to this. This is back in 1964, when I was serving in the Marines on board on a little island in the mouth of the Red Sea called Perim Island. And I was out on my own when this happened. And it's so special to me. So, A Gift from the Arabian Sea. What it was that made me stop is something that I'll never know. A hunch, a word, or maybe both sounded in my mind. Turn around, it seemed to say. There's something I must show you. Across a glass smooth sea, Banzor Blue Mountain sharply rose against an orange sky. Peace and silence. Then from the sea, a huge fish climbed the air, writhing black against the ribbon of the setting sun. It flipped an arc of sunlit droplets and sliced back into the sea. No one else in all the universe saw that heart-stopping sight. It was reserved for me. And 50 years have passed, and like a precious gift, I open the vaults of my memory bank and free the fish to live and leap again.
Oh, that was lovely.
Could see it.
Could see it.
Yes, that's what I thought as well. It's still visual.
That is lovely.
And does it sound okay? Does it, to the ear, if you like?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I like when it was reserved for me. I like. Yes.
And especially on a day like today when it's so cold,
Yes.
to have this warmth,
Yes.
it really
Yeah.
comes across, doesn't it?
I love Bandsaw Blue Mountain.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I was going to say. And sliced back into the sea, you just picture that, oh, precision, just diving
Yeah.
back down again.
Yes.
Glass
just,
moon
yeah.
doesn't shock, but Bandsaw Blue comes as a real surprise. Beautifully chosen.
Hmm.
Yes, it is beautiful.
Very clever.
I think it goes with the colour as well as the sort of zigzag shape
Yes.
of a bandsaw as well. So there were very sharp top mountains in Djibouti, the other side of the Red Sea.
I like the slice back into the sea. You didn't,
Hmm.
it's not usually used that way, sliced. It's very good.
Have you got a pattern, Tim? It doesn't. The length of the verses seems to be fairly random, maybe.
Yeah, it probably does. Yeah. I'm actually talking to another poet, a fairly well-known one, called Anne Ryland, who said, I need to have a talk to you about lineation. I don't quite know what that is, so I'm looking forward to finding out. But you might have stumbled on something there, Wendy.
Well, maybe you don't want to know about it because it's very free, isn't it? The way there isn't a pattern, is there?
No.
I don't think there's a
But
pattern.
it falls into its own pattern because
Yes.
it's got the sea was sure that no one else in all the universe is fighting down for that. It's certainly nice. I didn't even notice that. It just seemed like you were doing it exactly as it happened. That's all.
Yeah, it flows. It flows really well.
Yes.
I love the idea of opening the vaults of your memory bank.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic.
That's very true as well, because if you dwell on something for a while, you suddenly find you've got extra memories that come along as a surprise. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas now everybody would be getting their phones out trying to record it and actually miss it happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Yes.
Super, and thank you for your comments, guys. Yeah.
So, Barbara, you're going to screen share, aren't you?
Well, hopefully. So this was one that I wrote, which relates to today's meeting and all the meetings that we have. And I have read it to you before, so don't all shout, I've heard this one.
Can you make it slightly bigger, or is that?
Yes, I can make it slightly bigger because you kindly showed me how to move the stick to the bottom.
I think that's super. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's lovely. Is that all right for everybody else?
Yes.
Thanks.
I sit in my office. A screen in front of me comes alive like a flower opening, except the petals are faces in unknown rooms. Each one of these people feels like my friend, and yet we've never even met each other. Their rooms have become an extension of mine. The view from their windows, however, is unknown to me. Each of their rooms a rich tapestry of undiscovered treasures. I want to stop our discussions with, where did you find that print? I know it's rude to be nosy, but these invited secret spaces seem to be fair game to me because I've been welcomed in. What is that book just behind David's ear? Which place is pictured beside Olive's concentrating face? Anne's room is harder to reveal any facts, but she has a good mug to keep her carrying on. Jane's room is just like Alice through the looking glass, literally. This plays tricks with my brain. I must ask Fiona to move next time. The landscape picture behind her seems familiar to me. How fortunate I am to be given the gift of unexpurgated views into private spaces. I remember the enjoyment when lockdown began of snooping behind politicians to espy their secret lives. Sadly, somebody invented a cunning screen picture to block my prying eyes. Some have even gone pixelated. How boring to blot it all out when I could be viewing, as previously, a cat finishing its owner's tea, or unwashed dishes piled in the sink via their kitchen door. Long live the Zoom call.
It's so typical of you.
Well, it's just lovely.
Yeah.
It is true. They become friends that aren't friends. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
I really feel I know a lot about all of you.
I'm going to move next time, Barbara, so that you have a different view.
Oh, thank you.
You must be sick of this.
No, I think it's very good. It's 4 different images. Now you see you've blocked it. I can't see it now.
A very good idea.
I like being called a petal, Barbara. Thank you.
It really is a
I'm mildly insulted to think you could look at anything in my picture except me.
Well done.
Someone's got a high opinion himself.
I just wonder what exactly you're going to say, Barbara.
Yes.
Oh, well, it's lovely. It just trips off the tongue. It's
Yeah.
just almost like a conversation, and yet it's a poem.
And this, of course, came because we sent you a screen print, didn't we? I did, with everybody's permission, and you worked on it, and I think that's just superb. Really lovely. Yeah. And as Olive said, it is amazing because very few of us have actually met in person, and the power of Zoom. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
I do
Barbara.
like the metaphor of the opening flower, though, Barb. I think it's
Yes.
that's super in the first verse. You know, it's really good.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
So that's lovely. Thank you, Barbara. Right. Shall we ask you, Tim, again for another gift of a poem?
Yeah, let's go Something Found. This is actually, yet again, another set of memories. I used to spend my weekends with rescue archaeology when I was living down south in London. And we were actually excavating this place. That's all we can say, some waste ground in the East End of London. And this is really something that happened to me whilst I was there. So it's called Something Found. 2 meters down, I found myself 3,000 years ago. Kneeling in the cool, dark trench, I pried a piece of broken pot from the damp grip of the clay. Raku black and flecked with shell, rim dimpled by its maker's hands. The shoulder of a Bronze Age urn entered a different world. And hidden underneath, I found the finest blade of flint, gleaming with a sheen concealed until it came into the light.
Wow.
Oh,
And it was just amazing. Went to take it out, and there was this gorgeous shaped blade. I think it's in the Museum of London now, it was just beautiful, and it just had this kind of luster to it, and against the black of the pottery and the dark brown of the clay and so forth, it sort of shone. It was wonderful.
Was this a bomb site in East London or something, that it was clear?
Well, they were doing some. I mean, it was all part and parcel of major renovation that went on, along the Thames and so forth.
Yes.
Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it was all part and parcel of that. It was just a site. They did find some Roman graves nearby and so on. So it had obviously been used over the over the centuries.
Wow.
You must have been a potter once, Tim. Nobody else would know about raku.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, raku is a Japanese form of very rough sort of pottery where it's baked and it cracks, and it's intensely black, and usually
Yes.
There are these little bits of shell that are mixed up in the clay and so forth of it. Yes, and around the rim of it, I could actually see the fingerprints of the potter. I could actually he'd used his fingers to make a pattern, and it was amazing. I could put my fingertips in the indentations made by a potter 3,000 years ago.
I've never heard that phrase, raku, before. Oh, flecked with shell.
I liked the hyphenated word rim dimpled because it just sums up the shape. You've drawn a picture with those words. You can see clearly. We often see on television people's pottery programs, and you see the hands moulding the shape, and you see those thumbprints, and that's just so good. That's really good.
I love the opening line as well. You know, the link, the 2 meters down 3,000 years ago.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's just so evocative, yeah. And then when it entered a different world, you know, when you brought it back up, such a lovely word.
It was interesting, really, Anna, because it dawned on me that when I was kneeling in the bottom of the trench, and when I looked up, I'd actually travelled through time. You know, we don't think that as we dig down or something that we're actually going into the past. You know, it's only when something like this happens, I think.
Yeah, to then bring this Bronze Age urn to the present, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And did you take it to well, obviously you did, you took it to the museum.
Yes, I mean, everything that was found there was collected and properly sort of logged and so on. And eventually, I'm sure we'll have ended up in the Museum of London.
What else was found there, Tim, or was this the highlight of the dig?
Well, for me, it was a highlight, but there was a certain amount of jewellery that was found in another place. Some wooden boxes, or what they thought were wooden boxes, had almost crumbled when they got them, and the outline of graves and grave pottery and so forth. So this might have been a grave pot, you know, and the flint inside was there as a talisman or something. I don't know. You just hold it briefly and then you hand it over to the head archaeologist and say goodbye to it.
But you gave birth to it, Tim. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
How exciting to have done that. That's amazing. Yeah. And then now to write a poem. Very quickly, I want to ask both of you a question, if I may, and it's just come to me because we're not always as you know, we often read published poets' work that we don't know, and we can't ask them questions. But my question to the two of you, and perhaps we all might like to know that, could you quickly, when you write a poem, is that it, or do you have to edit it?
Oh, gosh. Hours and hours.
How long does that take? And yes, I think by your laughter from both of you, you do.
Yeah, for hours I spend, you know, trying to polish this one up. I think, you know, when I sent you, I've sent you about 3 copies. I kept going back and sort of saying, oh, I want to change this word and so forth on it, Jane, and you just keep looking at it. You put it away, you take it out, you look at it, and so on. It's absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's a great pastime, better than being in the pub.
And my answer is very different. I feel really guilty because I just write it down.
Yeah.
Have you been rehearsing it for ages, Barbara, in your head?
No.
It just comes out.
Jane, I said something that the poem that I just read, Jane said to me something like, oh, you ought to write a poem. And so I said, all right, and wrote the poem and then sent it to her about an hour later.
Wow.
I don't understand the mechanism. I just grabbed the poem out of my head with a pencil on, well, there's a notebook here. I just write it in pencil and then type it up.
Yes.
I don't understand how it happens.
Talking about that before, Barbara, and it's momentary. The thing that comes is momentary.
Yes.
That stays with you.
Yeah.
It's very different.
That's remarkable. I remember when I was analysing the Dylan Thomas stuff, how he spent days editing, looking for new words, changing, and I'm sure that's one end of the spectrum of what poets do. But you're with him, Tim.
Yes.
Fascinating. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for
I think it's because my middle name is Easy Bit, so if it wasn't easy, I wouldn't be doing this.
That's a gift.
And with that, would you like to easily go and screen share another one?
Right. So this one is, yeah. And again, I'll make it bigger. So this one, essentially, we were a group of people who write poetry were sitting in a room and somebody suggested the prompt, the green chair. And so I wrote this as a result of the prompt. So in actual fact, it doesn't directly speak about a green chair. So I'm sorry about that title. My mum loved green. She had a green kitchen table, which was Formica. It had 4 chairs covered in green rexine. The frames were metal with rubber feet, which came off if you dragged or rocked, both forbidden activities. Dad regularly repainted their legs with special paint for this purpose. When the table was new, I was quite small. At Christmas, my grandpa, the one that drank, arrived with a picture book, Alice in Wonderland, for me. I remember looking up at the table, the new green Formica table, up at the smouldering cigarette he had rested carelessly on the corner. I watched fascinated as the grey ash extended and the glowing tip turned the green Formica brown. We lived in the upstairs part of a small London terraced house, and downstairs another family would have been celebrating their own Christmas peace and joy. My mother observed her father's massacre of her treasured new Formica, and taking him by the collar and the back of his trouser belt, she gave him the bum's rush down those 12 steep stairs and out into the Christmas night, disgraced. That table and chair set remained her pride and joy. Tubular steel legs repainted, their curving sides creamy paint sheltering naked rough steel within. The red rubber feet continued to drop off, but she rammed them back unfussed. It was still there, 53 years later, when she finally gave up her battle with the affliction which controlled her, condemned her to a bed-bound, sheltered prison, and left her unable to repaint their legs or reconnect those bloody rubber feet.
It's really lovely.
Lovely.
Yes.
What history.
Yes.
One thing jumps out. You say about somebody who drank.
Yes, my grandpa.
Yes.
One could
Is that a phrase you picked up because the grown-ups said it?
No, it was an observation. He
Right.
would become unsteadily singing and generally behaving in a drunken fashion.
Yes. That is
Right.
useful, isn't it?
He
That is
came from
useful.
Glasgow. He's the Scottish part of my family.
Yes.
Came from Crossmaloof in Glasgow.
Does that explain that he's drunk?
Yes, in my opinion. No disrespect to the Scots amongst you.
And presumably she lived with the scar on her table for the rest of its life.
There was on the, as you were looking down on it, it was the bottom left corner, and it was just like a small circular wart in the very corner.
Oh, yes.
And every time I saw it, I remember, and I must have been so small because I was looking up.
Yes.
All this happening. And I just, you know, up until, because she eventually was living in, well, she was in a care home because she had Parkinson's and she had osteoporosis.
Yes.
But prior to that, that table and the Formica top with its burned corner,
Yes.
went through them. She was so proud of that table and chairs.
Is there any significance in her liking green, or was it just something she liked?
From whenever I was born, everything was green. We had green lino and green wallpaper and green curtains. She just loved green.
Just loved it.
And Rexine is a familiar name of a material, isn't it?
Yes. It was like a sort of pretend shiny leather stuff made out of early plastic, I think.
Yes.
I love the picture of the ash on the cigarette bar. I can remember watching one sort of someone's cigarette just getting longer and longer as it goes.
As a child, everything is a novelty, isn't it? And
yes.
You know, I can remember just being interested and seeing it get longer and longer, and then make contact with this brand new table that she'd saved up all the money and gone and got.
I would guess that we all grew up with grown-ups who smoked cigarettes.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
What a startling change.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
Big change.
Yes, indeed.
I remember when they were 3 and 6. my father would send me down the village and say, would you say, please, can I have 20 cigarettes for my father? Because I was underage. And that seemed to be all right.
I was evacuated to a small school in Sussex, and I was required on Saturdays to walk 1.5 miles down to the village to buy a packet of Kensitas for the headmaster. And Kensitas in those days came with 4 extra cigarettes on the end.
Yes.
Right.
I remember saying to someone,
good value.
I said to someone, I thought all daddies smoked. That's what I said to someone. I thought all daddies smoked.
How much does a packet cost now?
Oh, I haven't a clue.
No idea. Pounds.
I've no idea. No idea. Thanks very much, Barbara. I think we've got time for one more poem from Tim. Which one would you like to choose?
I think we'll go Cat's Paws.
Right.
Yeah. So it's short, so it gets out of the way quicker.
Oh no, that's what, more time for a little bit of discussion afterwards, maybe. There we go.
Okay, I've called this Cat's Paws because they are those little dimplings. I've got lots of dimples on my mind this morning. These dimplings that you see on a very calm sea when the breeze just passes over. It's known as Cat's Paws. And just a little bit of clarification in line 3 when I talk about Durrell's Blue. At the start, the very first sentence of Lawrence Durrell's book, Prospero's Cell, he says, somewhere between Calabria and Corfu, the blue really begins. So that's the reference that I made there. So, And I was on HMS Tiger. We were sailing south down the Adriatic from, as it was, Yugoslavia, then towards Crete. When we stopped in this morning, I think it was, and you turn sideways, if you like, and this amazing sort of calmness just appears. You're on the lee side. So it was a very, very calm morning it was when this 11,000 tons worth of ship just suddenly or gently stopped. So cat's paws. A still morning, distant mountains, closer islands, glass smooth sea, and just where Doral's blue began, we stopped our voyage south to Crete. Over the polished sea we watched, a sudden dimpling of the glass as paw prints flickered past a ship and cooling breezes brushed our face. Fleet-footed, toes barely touching the surface, the god's messenger raced past the steel walls, making more impression on the sea than all our naval bulk. And the name of the god's messenger, of course, was Hermes.
Mhm.
One don't put that down because that's also the name of an aircraft carrier as well. So that's effectively slammed everyone into silence. That's rather good.
I love the polished sea. I love the polished sea.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still amazed by paw prints. I never knew about paw prints.
Yes, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cat's paws. Yes. Look it up on Google and you'll see some film of it. And so on.
I've never heard of that one either.
But they used to, I suddenly understood, you know, the ancient Greeks probably had watched this and they didn't realize, you know, they felt the breeze go past and they said, that's obviously Hermes. That's obviously the messenger of the gods running to take his message someplace else. And they sort of put this on. But yeah, who knows?
What a lovely idea.
God's messenger raced past.
Next time I'm beating along the side of the sea with the force 9 gale, I shall think, Hermes must be in a hurry today.
Tim, I'm glad you keep the memory of Lawrence Durrell alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great writer.
I love it. Love
books
it.
about Crete and Rhodes.
Yeah.
I found his house in Rhodes once. I was on holiday in Rhodes and went exploring, remembering his book, and found the house he lived in.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
That must have been interesting.
I went to Rhodes years ago, but I didn't know about that.
Oh.
No, that's, yes.
Well, a very big thank you to Barbara and Tim for this really special session today. Really superb. And thank you. You know, it just struck me, these things do. I wonder whether each of you would like to, just in a sentence or two, explain what you, it's a terrible question to ask you to give such a short reply, but what do you get out of the u3a online across Scotland and in particular this group? So if I could start with Olive on that.
Right.
Just a few short sentences.
Yes.
Lovely.
Just stop me whenever you want, Jane, as you do. Well, seriously, I came to Edinburgh when my husband died, and I wasn't in too great state mentally anyway, and I enjoyed Edinburgh so much, but I didn't know it. Well, my daughter's here, but I didn't know anybody else. Joined the u3a, and it was the best thing I've ever done, because as we were talking earlier, the faces become friends. You know about these people and you care, and you know who likes what poet and what, you really get to know them, perhaps even more than your friends. I like that. Other thing I'll say before I stop is, I like to increase my learning. I think it's good as I'm getting older. It was particularly good for me, especially when I was in hospital recently. It was great when I came out and could go to a Zoom. And if it was a snowstorm or whatever, I had Zoom. So these are the main things I like, Jane. I think that would be enough for you, probably.
No, that's wonderful, Olive. Thank you. Barbara.
I think making friends is so important. And although I love my little town, the town that I live in has got so many people, and I know those people, but I'm always wanting to meet new people. And this is the obvious way to do it. And essentially, I'm very lazy. And it's an absolute dream to go upstairs to the office and switch on the computer and see new faces where I would have had to have got on the bus or, you know, made some effort, and it could be raining and it could be windy and blah, blah, blah. But here, I just walk into everybody's rooms and they make me welcome. And I've got all these new friends. And each time we have a meeting, somebody's talking about what's going on in their bit. And I find out a bit more about where I live and the people that live here. So I think it's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Lovely. Yeah, that's how I feel as well, actually. That's very, very, very interesting. Wendy.
Oh, well, I came to the poetry group. I've been running a play reading group for years and thought I should have a change, and started on the poetry, which I greatly enjoyed. I think, talking about the poetry, what I particularly loved is the sort of freedom with which poets express themselves now, and that they're not desperately tied to rhymes or rhythms. And probably the meaning is less obscure. But I've always found poetry really special.
David.
I've been away from Edinburgh for many years, and I'm a private person. And just like my mother found, when you get to the age of 88, your friends have gone. And so I have found a poetry group in u3a especially extremely helpful in showing me there are other people with whom I can communicate and with whom I can find pleasure. And besides, I had an exaggerated view of my own skill as a poetry reader, and it gave me the opportunity to continue to delude myself that I'm actually good at something besides the stuff I've taught for so many years.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Anna.
Oh, I think it's all been said already. It's the inclusivity, it's the meeting people with similar interests from across Scotland, not just your community. Being able to sit in my room and do this, especially if there's days due to, say, ill health, that I find it difficult to get out and about, and the group just lifts me. It makes me happy. I get a sense of peace, fulfillment, and I'm not one of these hippy dippy people. I'm beginning to sound like it, and it's been a privilege to just hear the poems that people have chosen and also the poems that people have written. I've been made to feel very welcome and not intimidated by real poets in the presence of them. And really do look forward to our monthly meetings and getting to know everybody. And thank you so much for making me welcome, because I think I'm the newest person in the group, and yet I feel as if I know you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. I feel as though you've been coming here forever. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim.
Yeah.
Last but not least.
Last but not least, yes, as far as u3a is concerned, I think it's a vast range of subjects and topics that you can actually sort of study, if you like. And everyone seems to be so enthusiastic about their groups. I don't know who it was who said, you know, there are no strangers, only friends I've yet to meet. But I really do feel that's exemplified by this group that we've got at the moment. The conversations are always valuable, they're always fun, and they're always relevant in one way or another. And quite honestly, once a month isn't enough, all right? And So this is nice to have an additional group today. But I just think it's a wonderful invention. I really do.
Jane, why don't you tell us yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, everything that you've all said, really. I feel the same. I feel so comfortable with you all. And I like the concept that, you know, we are all from different u3as. And it's lovely getting together. 3 of you I've met in person. No, 2 of you I've met in person, sorry. But I feel as though I know you all equally, and that's lovely. And we have a common theme. Absolutely. No, I would miss it. I would miss it if we didn't meet. I really would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really would.